Okay, we have started.
Okay. I call to order the Highland Park Board of Education, July 17th, 2023 virtual regular public meeting. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of the public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, the Highland Park Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting, setting forth the time, date, and location to be submitted for the publication to the Home News Tribune and Star Ledger and posted on the board's website at least 48 hours in advance of this meeting. Members of the public who wish to address the board will be given an opportunity to do so before the board adjourns for the evening. Can I have a roll call, please?
Did we lose Lori? We lost Lori.
Wait, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello. Hello.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. All right. Ms. Casaldon,
Here.
Ms. Coleman, Ms. Gowan,
Here.
Mr. Krieger,
Here.
Ms. McFadden DiNicola, Ms. Preuss,
Here.
Mr. Roslevich, Ms. Voorhees,
Here.
Mr. Woodward.
Here.
Okay.
Okay, we are now going to recess to executive session. Be it resolved pursuant to the Sunshine Act NJSA 10:4-2 and 13, the Highland Park Board of Education will now meet in closed session to discuss matters related to HIB and student discipline. These exemptions are permitted to be discussed in closed session in accordance with NJSA 10:4-13. Information regarding the board's closed session discussion will be disclosed to the public as soon as the need for confidentiality no longer exists. I move that we recess to executive session.
Second.
And
Couldn't find my
trying to
button.
get through the packet, me neither.
Ugh.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Yes. Austin. Yes. Yes. Okay. All right.
One more minute.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And you saw the motion in personnel, right? The walk-on item, add-on item. And
Oh, sorry. I just put my headphones on
Oh.
now. What about it? I haven't.
did you see? Okay, good. Okay, perfect. Just making sure.
Thanks. Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, Lori.
All right, Allison, we're ready when you are.
I move that we reconvene to regular session.
Second.
Convene, Okay.
All right, next is our pledge.
Okay. Oh, yeah, sorry. That's me. Give me 1 second. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we had one communication in June regarding a garbage situation at Bartle that was quickly handled. So thank you very much to our Director of Facilities. Next is the approval of minutes. I move to approve the minutes for the hybrid workshop public and executive session meeting for June 5th, 2023, and the hybrid regular public and executive session meetings for June 12th, 2023.
Second.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Cassell done?
Yes.
Do we have to vote? Okay, okay. Ms. Coleman,
Yes.
Ms. Gowan,
Yes.
Mr. Krieger,
Yes.
Ms. McFadden Nicola,
Yes.
Ms. Bruce,
Yes.
Ms. Voorhees,
Yes.
Mr. Woodward.
Yes.
Okay. The next item on the agenda.
Oh, did we lose her?
Rose. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, she's
Allison, you froze.
Okay, the next item was the superintendent's report.
I have no report tonight.
So we're going to move on to curriculum and instruction for our committee reports. So curriculum and instruction met July 11th.
lost you again.
Allison, you might want to
Your
try to
video
shut down your
off.
video.
I'm gonna stop my video, see if that helps. So we discussed the new proposed Schedule B positions for Green Team at Bartle and Middle School. They were great ideas. We asked some clarifying questions to the people who submitted the applications regarding who's doing what, especially how much time is being spent student facing with the activity. So we are looking forward to getting that information back. The second item that we discussed was that the SEL lab is expanding to middle school. So Miss Asamoah is meeting with Miss Maiden and Miss Young to discuss programming between the teen center that's already helping the middle school and now the SEL lab. They're also submitting a list of interns for approval. One of the needs that they have to figure out is space. So where will the SEL lab be held? It is likely that the SEL lab will provide some tier 1 interventions, which is more universal. So like kind of doing class activities. And while the teen center would focus on more tier 2 and tier 3, which are more intensive supports, but as they kind of negotiate all of that, more information will come. So we look forward to an update next month. We also looked at the initial benchmark data for ELA and math. Ms. Rodriguez review of how Bartle and middle school is doing with ELA. At Bartle, teachers currently use Fontes and Pinnell assessments. Those take a lot of time to administer. They're also not really aligned with the foundational skills that Foundations focuses on, and with the new state standards and their foundational standard requirements. The assessments don't really do a good job with. So next year, grades 2 and grades 3, which will both be using Foundations, will use an assessment called Acadience for their benchmarks. And that includes more of the foundational skills that they're being taught through the Foundations program, in addition to reading comprehension as a whole. Grades 4 and 5 will continue to use the MAP assessment. So for this year, the 2022 and 2023 data showed that 3rd and 4th grade were primarily the grades in more need of support. 2nd and 5th grade showed overall growth when comparing the percentages of students at or above grade level from fall to spring assessments. They also did a phonics screener for 2nd grade to kind of hone in on those skills that Foundations is teaching, which showed steady progression of students from their initial testing levels to being at grade level and ready for 3rd grade Foundations work by the end of the year. The MAP ELA assessments in middle school showed that all grades demonstrated growth during the year, and many students are at that level 3, which is approaching standard, and they're on the cusp of meeting the expectations in level 4. So level 4 is the at grade level expectations. So some tier 1 curriculum revisions, meaning curriculum revisions for everyone, for every student, will be made based on that data, and further interventions for those at level 3 and below will be decided also based on this data. With math, I sent out a report to you guys, but I have a few corrections for that. So the math data, all of the assessments right now are actually in-house assessments. They're designed by our teachers. They're not currently using MAP or Acadience or anything like that. So that was a mistake that I made when I wrote the report. So I just wanted to clear that up. So we only have right now Bartle's benchmark assessments, which showed growth for each grade level when comparing fall to spring numbers. While the 4th grade grew overall, the benchmark still showed that there was a significant need for more support, as fewer than 50% of the students attained a passing grade on the final benchmark. And we will look at the initial benchmark data for middle school at our next meeting. We'll also be able to look at more subgroup data at the next meeting as well. So looking at our students that are on free and reduced lunch, looking at our English language learners, etc. The committee also discussed our free and reduced lunch numbers. There was a question. The increase in free and reduced lunch was because of the New Jersey change in the federal, can't remember, the threshold that families need to hit in order to qualify for free and reduced lunch. And it was not. Those changes do not happen until September. So what we looked at is we looked at what we could find in Genesis from this year back to about 2018. Prior to COVID, the free and reduced lunch numbers hovered around 34 to 35%. There was a drop during COVID because everybody was getting free lunch. So since our free lunch and reduced lunch data is self-report, there was, you could theorize that there was a decline based on the fact that people didn't really need to submit the form in order to have free and reduced lunch. It jumped back up to 34% in 2021 to 2022. And then went up 4% for this year, the 2022 and 2023 data. Now, the shift in the reduced lunch requirement will hit in September, so we are going to anticipate a change in our numbers for the next school year. We also briefly discussed our growing English language learner population. District-wide, there were approximately 60 students who were new to our ENL program this year. Dr. Nicosia has created a summer project for herself where she's really looking in depth at some of these students and thinking about how our MTSS models, or what's known as multi-tiered system of support models, can be used to address some of our students' needs. For example, if a student enters our ENL program as an 8th grader, but perhaps only has a 2nd grade reading level, how could the district kind of meet the needs of that kid, but also make sure that they're trying to graduate with their peer group? We want to make sure that our students are college and career ready, so they may need more support and perhaps even a longer high school plan in order to make that happen. That, of course, would then affect our 4-year graduation rate. So it's kind of really help support our students, but also showcase like everything that we're doing in our schools to help them. We did not talk about our testing data or our continued parent concerns about rigor at this meeting because we had a lot to discuss. So those will be discussed at our next meeting. And let's go to the agenda. Our first item on the agenda is field trip requests. The second is approval of HIV reports, all from the middle school. The approval of our Schedule B interscholastic athletic schedules for fall and winter season of the 23 and 24 school year, and approval of our 2022 to 2023 school bus emergency evacuation drill report. Number 5 is the approval of the Safe Return Plan 2023-2024. That again is our COVID plan. No changes, but we do have to approve it for the coming year. And the approval for the agreement for the Texas A&M University internships and junior practicum observation. We have a student locally that attends Texas A&M, so we are approving that they're able to do their internship with us. Any questions? That was a lot, so.
Thank you, Christina. That was a lot. Allison, thank you so much. It was very helpful.
Allison, your reports are getting more and more detailed, but you're hitting on the topics that everyone's thinking about. So it is really helpful.
Thanks. I'm trying to, I received some feedback from a community member that it was like written in teacher speak. So I'm trying to kind of, elaborate a little bit on what everything means. So to try to make it, more family facing.
Oh, it's important stuff. So it's good that we all hear it.
Thank you. I also want to say thank you very much, especially the benchmark data. That was really helpful. I didn't understand really how that showed growth beyond just, hey, this is how you are in the beginning of the year versus the end of the year, that it really showed where they are at grade level. And so you can see if they've had kind of extra advancement throughout the year. So thank you. That was really, really helpful. And I had a question. I don't know if this goes to the end of the meeting because it was listed as part of curriculum instruction, but it wasn't mentioned now about the AP scores. Is that something separate just to ask under old business, I guess? Christina kind of put that in her notes as being in this area, but it's not on the agenda.
Yeah, we that wasn't on our agenda for curriculum instruction. But,
okay, gotcha.
If we want to discuss it, maybe in new business.
Okay.
It wasn't on one of our previous agendas, I guess.
Okay.
All right, equity and excellence.
I have nothing new to report. We pushed our meeting to this coming Thursday, so I will share in our next board meeting.
Finance and facilities.
Oh, Mark, you're muted. You're muted,
Mark, you're muted. You're muted, Mark.
Apologies. We met on July 11th. The main topic was the referendum process to go out to a bond to be able to house the 3 and 4 year old students in the district in a full day pre-K. At the meeting, we had the committee, Christina, John Flanagan, our director of facilities, Terry Jover from the town, and also DMR architect. We had Janet and Donna from that firm to answer questions and help us understand the process. So just for background, the state is requiring us or expecting us to support 90% of our 3 and 4 year olds within the next 5 years in a pre-K, full day pre-K program. But we, as many other districts, don't have classrooms, especially since the pre-K classrooms are special. They have to be 950 square feet at least, and they need self-contained bathrooms. And we can only house 15 students per classroom. That means, and probably say this later in the report, that means we need approximately 14 classrooms. And while New Jersey will pay for the new staff and administration, they will not pay for facilities, and they won't pay for additional busing services. On the other hand, families in Highland Park will receive numbers upwards of $2 million to support their children going to effectively a free pre-K program. And programs like this are in place in other districts, like East Orange, for instance, and some other districts that that we're aware of, where they significantly support the families for the students to start school early. The referendum to build facilities for the students is likely to cost upward of $20 million. But it would not increase taxes. Yep.
Can I just, Jenna's iPhone, can you please mute if someone signed on from Age on his iPhone. If you could please hit mute on your device.
Yeah, sorry, Allison, I don't see on my list that I can do that from here. Just looks like I see like camera only.
Yeah, me
Uh,
too.
You may
Um,
be hearing my background. We're away and there's various things going on in the house here.
All right,
Okay.
sorry.
All right, I'll keep going. So a new referendum would not increase taxes since some of the old bond issues are starting to come due over the next few years, and they can all be refinanced and rolled into one new referendum, one new bond issue, and just run longer, but the tax rate would not go up. So we explored, we discussed a lot of issues, but we explored three possible ways to do a bond issue. One of them is on land that we don't own, which would mean, and there's a lot of land that is possibly available on Route 27. The problem, of course, is the bond issue would have to be much larger because we have to purchase the land. Also, that specific piece of land doesn't have enough space to have a play area and parking and enough classrooms. I think we could fit about 10 classrooms. So that's problematic. The alternative that we looked at more closely was extending the Bartle School towards where the police department is. I guess that's on South 5th. And that area has sufficient room. DMR has provided us with blueprints for possible two-story use plus a courtyard play area. Would include 14 classrooms, perhaps, yeah, I think it's 14 classrooms. And the play area is 6,300 square feet. The pros are that it costs nothing for the land. It comfortably houses the required classrooms, has a playground specifically for pre-K. It connects to the main Bartle building, and the pre-K administration, which is paid for by the state, could manage the pre-K from the extension. The main con is that the children would go to Bartle for pre-K, then go to Irving for K and 1, and then go back to Bartle for 2 through 5. Also, the play areas in the courtyard may not have sufficient light. So we're exploring those. And then one other discussion we had was using Bartle for grade 1. That has a downside of grade 1 has, I believe, 6 or 7 classrooms, but we would then not have enough classrooms free in Irving, so we would potentially have to build in Irving and build in Bartle to get enough classrooms for the 3 and 4-year-olds. And we're talking about perhaps close to 2 full classrooms of 3 and 4-year-olds, perhaps 190 or 200 children. So it's complicated, and now's the time to start. We have the modules for 2 years, and bond referendum has to be approved by the state. We have to put it on a ballot. By the time you even get started, it's 6 months. And then there's, I think, 4 times during the year you can vote, ask for vote on a bond referendum. Hopefully with no additional taxes and all the money that would come into the town, into the town for providing this free pre-K, there would be community support for this program. So that's what we discussed. Let me get back to my Zoom windows. So we have a number of items, large number of items on the finance and facilities list. Numbers 1 through 4 are various approvals for the month of June. I'm sorry, 1 through 3 for the month of June for bill list, athletic bill list, and cafeteria bill list. Something I just noticed in reviewing 5 and 6 and 7 is that those are written for 2022. So I wonder, Christina and Lori, is that correct? Are these, is this 2022 being approved now? Kind of a year? Okay, so those are going to be approved for, in effect, for last year, not this year. Sorry, I didn't bring that up. I just didn't notice the years. And then we have certification and board secretary report in numbers 7, 8, and 9 that go through March of 2023. So they're going to be coming in, streaming in over the rest of the year to get us flush with the end of 2023. 10 is a approval of budget transfers for the month of July 31st, 2022 through February again. Budget transfers in number 11 through March 31st, 2023. Number 12 is the approval of an amendment for the Pension Protection Act of 2006 and other law changes to the 457B plan. 13 is approval of travel and related expense reimbursements. 14 is a large number of approvals of contractors for professional services. I think I'd like to do is read the kinds of services we're approving, as opposed to naming every group and every date and so on. So the first one is monitoring food services for monitoring services for our food services operation. We have athletic training services, Innovate licenses for Fuse Studio for Bartle and elementary and middle school, leader to leader certification for our new assistant principals, an accounting to help closing out fiscal 2022 school year, commission for the blind and visually impaired to support eligible students, educational services commission for psychological and many other evaluations, educational eval, social eval, speech language eval, bilingual services eval, home instruction services, school supplemental services, functional behavior services, children with hearing loss services, and that's all educational services commission. We have on page 7, Effective School Solutions. They help us with the LINKS program. So this is helping with children with IEPs in now going up to middle and high school. And this is approving that. We have Garden State ACC specialist for augmentative and alternate communication services, a whole list of services they provide. And we have nursing services. And these are the rates, these aren't specific requests. Number 15 is approval of bedside instruction for 3 students. Number 16 is approval of extended school year out of district summer placements for 3 new students per their IEPs. 17 is approval for a canopy for the modular classrooms connecting them to Irving. And this is from Box Modular, who's providing us the modular classrooms. 18 is prevailing wage supplement to the contract with Box Modular Services per New Jersey prevailing wage law. 19 is approval of a membership in the New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletic Association. That's our annual dues. 20 is submission of approval of submission of the IDA grant application for 20. That should say 2023, 2024. There's a typo there in the body of that. It says 2032. It should say 2023. So it will be moved as 2023, 2024. Those amounts are $482,455 for basic and $15,779 for IDA preschool. 21 is approval of a whole variety of insurances. So we have commercial, business auto, umbrella, school boards association covering workman's comp and supplemental, fireman's fund, excess umbrella liability, traveler's casualty, public official bonds, Lloyd's on environmental liability, Houston Insurance on cyber liability, and Zurich Bollinger Insurance for student accident liability. So we pay a lot for insurance. The 22 is approval of DMR architects to prepare and submit the 2 temporary pre-K classrooms at Irving to the New Jersey Department of Education. Number 23 is the approval of the renewal of the ACES Electric Program Enhanced Renewal product participation. This is buying renewable energy through the state to at reduced rates over the general marketplace. 24 is the approval of submission of an IDEA grant amendment number 1 to our application to reallocate grant funds to fund staffing and instructional supplies. 25 is approval of the contract for fence installation and repairs over at Irving and Bartle. 26 is approval of contract for bleacher installation and repairs at Bartle and the high school. And 27 is approval of a contract for repairs and painting at Irving and the high school. So there's a long list. There's 27 items, plus all of the discussion of the bond referendum we're going to need. So any questions, board members?
Chris has a question.
Chris?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions about the architect, but just first of all about the insurance. When we're sued for things like the earlier start times, part of that, our defense comes out of the insurance, is that right? Which insurance fund does that come out of?
I don't know off the top
Well,
of my head.
It depends on if depending when if we activate the insurance and then the insurance company does all the work and, assigns the legal case, our attorneys, and then it goes from there. So they determine how all the funds and all of that are allocated.
Have we put in a claim to defend ourselves about the earlier start times?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the Danielle Pantaleo from Bush Law has already been assigned to the case and has been working on it.
And that's I think from Utica, isn't it? I said I didn't know, but I
Yes.
think that comes from the Utica.
Yeah, that's Utica.
Commercial package.
Yes,
Chris.
yes.
Is it public how much we put in the claim for, or is that confidential?
That's confidential.
So I had some, but it comes out of that 145 figure. Is that the?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So about the question of whether we can have the pre-K at Irving versus whether we have to have it at Bartle. I think I'm still not understanding the regulations about the play area very well, and and the bathroom. So does the pre-K have to have a designated play area, which is only for pre-K? And
Yes.
so even if we had it at Irving, it would still have to have a separate play area, which is separate from the other grades?
Yes,
And then
because it has to
also-
be, because it has to be developmentally appropriate for them, and it's so much a square foot per student.
And also the classrooms have to have their own bathrooms, and we don't have enough classrooms with bathrooms at Irving, right? So because of those two things, isn't it the case that we just couldn't do it at Irving even if we wanted to, or am I misunderstanding?
Well, we just have to go around. We haven't, at the meeting, we discussed it, but Mr. Flanagan and I have to go around and count the rooms to see. We weren't sure off the top of our head. I'm not hopeful, but we have to count. Because the other issue is that preschool can't be on the third floor, so it couldn't be like in the tower on the third floor and stuff like that. So we'd have to count those.
Yeah, there's a chance. Just to reiterate something Mark said, at the meeting, we were discussing this designated play area for the pre-K students. And at the moment, it's set up for one of the inner courtyards that would be created by this extra wing, which, I guess it's good in the sense of, for security, like the kids definitely won't be able to run off or anything, but it's not going to get a lot of sunlight if it's a small courtyard surrounded by two-story buildings. So it's not optimal, but there are a lot of regulations, so I'm not sure what we can do.
Yeah, what I heard her say was that at that meeting was that to do any improvements at Irving, is very expensive because of how old the building is. And if we had to add any classrooms at Irving, we'd have to shut the building down for some extended period of time. So those are both not optimal for us.
But
Jen?
I just wanted to ask again about the playground at Irving. So there's already a pre-K there. That playground isn't age appropriate for that grade because it's only half.
It's just, we have to have so much for square foot, so much play space per square foot of students.
Mhm.
And it's back in my notes, and I can get back to I can get back to Marilyn to share with and Allison to share with the board. But there's it's so much square foot per student for play space. So ours meets regulation because we have a half-day program with like 30 kids. But if we're increasing the number of students, we have to have more play space.
Okay. I think she said they could also just go at different times, like as long as they were going
Yes.
outside at different times, maybe it could work.
Right. But we also have the other, depending on how many grade levels are there in students.
Right, right. Yeah, I just shot something out to Mark to remind me to ask about this before, because I think we talked about maybe moving just first grade over to Bartle, but what if we did K and 1 to fill in that potential space and just left Irving with just pre-K? I don't know if we talked about that.
we didn't.
Yeah. So maybe next meeting.
Okay, any other questions for finance or facilities? Okay,
Thank you, Mark. Just thank you, Mark, for that in-depth
Welcome.
report. Appreciate it.
and personnel and communication.
Ah, fantastic. Thank you. I had one warning. I'm sorry, my computer is going ballistic. I think it's on its last legs. Okay, so if I stumble here, it's because my screen flashed black for a minute. Okay, so first of all, we had our meeting on July 12th. Much of the stuff is on the agenda, pretty self-explanatory. I sent out minutes with a few extra details, all confidential personnel matters. Let's see. Well, two very exciting items are on our agenda. The approval of Ms. Dodalski. Am I saying that right? Oh, good, I'm glad. As our new supervisor of funded programs and district initiatives. And of course, Ms. Baldazone is our new assistant principal at Bartle. So we'll talk about that a little bit more after the agenda. But of course, we discussed that at personnel. And we're delighted to have you both. Let's see. Sorry, let's see. Christina updated us a little bit on the credit recovery program at the high school. Mr. Richardson, the assistant principal there, has done a great job, apparently, creating a credit recovery program that's project-based, includes some service activities, and unbelievably, the students had positive feedback. I say unbelievably because nobody wants to like jam in a whole bunch of credits right towards the end of to graduate, but apparently they really enjoyed it, and they are in discussions to have some more choices in the future. So that's fantastic. I've never heard of anybody liking credit recovery, so wonderful. Just 1 second. Okay, we talked about the tech teacher job at the high school, the position for a teacher who would teach computer science, AP Comp Sci, a couple other things. We are without such a teacher for the fall. That position has been listed, but only recently, obviously, because we only recently knew that we were without the teacher. It seems unlikely that we'll be able to get someone even for the spring because kids have to sign up for courses significantly in advance of the spring semester. So, I mean, it would be almost a miracle if we could find somebody who could just teach in the spring. But yeah, I'm sure we'll try if such a person, such a unicorn is available. But most likely we would be looking to hire somebody for next fall. Christina is looking into other potential stopgaps, including online learning. She's going to talk with our new business administrator about where funds could potentially come from that. So maybe some students could take computer science online. Also very exciting coming up is on July 31st, Dr. Nicosia and other administrators are going to be meeting with the president of Middlesex Community College to talk about partnerships. which could include, exciting new classes for students. It probably won't include dual enrollment, where one of our teachers gets certified to be a Middlesex professor, temporary Middlesex professor, and teaches a Middlesex college class in the district. Apparently, there's not enough teachers that are interested and have the qualifications. You have to have a master's degree and heaven knows what else. But there's all kinds of other things that we could possibly get going on. And so that's exciting. I'm looking forward to hearing what comes of that meeting. All right, the agenda, if my computer can handle it. Ay, ay, ay. Sorry, I'm scrolling. Oh my God. Scroll, please scroll. All right, here we go. So a lot of this is self-explanatory. I'll sort of touch on things that look more interesting or more like confusing or more not self-explanatory. Resolutions. Number one, Dr. Nicosia is recommending that we appoint Dr. Nicosia as our acting business administrator until our new business administrator, Ms. DeRosa, comes on in about a week, I think. Let's see, 2, board appointments. Now my computer won't work at all. 2 secs, guys. Okay, nope. I'm in hell right now.
And if you need me to go over it, I was at the meeting with you.
You were at the meeting. Do you mind? I'm sorry. I feel like a total idiot. There's a read-in item, as you know, I think at the end.
Okay, well, that you can do because I don't have that.
I'll see if I can get that up on my screen by then.
Okay. But
Sorry,
no, it's okay. Anne was going over the fact that Dr. Nicosia is covering for our business administrator and custodian of records until July 23rd, at which point B&C tells us we're approving Denise DeRosa to do all those jobs. They are qualified purchasing agents. And down under 2, she's being appointed business administrator, board secretary, in charge of our investments, and affirmative action officer. So she's got a lot of hats that we're approving her for. John Flanagan has a bunch of hats we're approving him for. And you can see that list, D, E, F, G, and H are jobs that John will be doing. We come back to Denise, and she's our OSHA designee. Robert Maruka on J is a new guidance counselor. He'll be our anti-bullying specialist for Irving. Tracy Madden for Bartle. And then back to Denise for Open Public Records Act, another one of her hats. So that just takes us to 2. 3 is all the substitutes through ESS. We have some leaves of absence that are being extended, 4 and 5. We have resignations of our tech person, Brandon Tucker, and the paraprofessional at Bartle. Our media specialist at Bartle. We are sorry to see all of you go. And Christina shared different personal reasons why people are doing other things, including moves and job changes. We are very happy to approve Aislinn Bedalski for supervisor of funded programs and district initiatives. Well, we're going to vote on you, but that's the plan. Kevin DePayne, we had recommendation to approve him for assistant principal at the middle school. We had approval of a part-time dance teacher, a special ed teacher at the middle school. Brooke Baldazone, happy to be voting on her recommendation for assistant principal at Bartle. We have a teacher at Bartle Elementary, and actually two, for Bartle, a paraprofessional for Bartle, one shade. Robert Maruka, we're approving as a guidance counselor at Irving. We've got a couple of paraprofessionals at Irving, 2 of them we're approving, we're voting on. We're voting on a behaviorist they will be working for Ed Services for us in special ed. A transfer from Irving to Irving, I think full-time, for Samara Santos. Our youth safety specialist, Jason Jablonski, is going back to 100%. He had gone down to 60% for a while last year. when we hired him, and now he'll be full-time. Very happy that we're going to be voting on a director for the before and after school program, Colin McIntosh. You've seen his resume, but he comes having developed a program at Wall, and seems to have, so we're very excited that he's taking the position as soon as we vote on him. And he'll be able to get that program started. Then we have some extra hours for a legal court case, other summer work, summer staff. I'll move on a little bit. Translator, what somebody has spoken about before in terms of the credit recovery over at the high school. Michelle Paxton is going to be working on just expanding that. We're being referred to as a multi-tiered system of support specialists. And then we have a whole lot of special Schedule B positions. Oh man, Ann, this is long. Some stipends.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's good. I got a good spot here at the airport, so it's all working. We have some tech people for outside events, as well. Yeah, 2 people for outside events. And then another AV specialist, I guess, to do our board meeting. I think AV board meeting specialist, right? 2 people for that. Ship staff to walk students to the rec department from our program. Lots of classroom moves because of the modular classrooms. Lots of teachers have to be moving around in Irving, so we have lots of teachers who are going to be working hard to get those classrooms set up. And volunteer football coaches. Oh, some more child study team IEP meetings and volunteer football coaches. PD, the presenters and prepper hours, a lot of those people who are doing all this great work. A lot of responsive classroom work being done that we're paying for. I'm happy to see that. Staff for 9th grade orientation, writing of the Spanish 4 curriculum, a toileting stipend, more change of staff for our START extended school year program, professional development workshop, educational services has that one. Summer bus duties, a whole bunch of staff. We're up to 47, we're getting there. Additional hours for paraprofessional, for registration. They're going to help with registration at Irving as that comes in. Job coach stipends for the summer program, and some more another staff person for our shift summer program. So that is the agenda. I'll just add that this number of hires in July is amazing. And thank you very much to Christina and other people who worked so hard to make that happen. Actually, Christina, it is incredible that we're filling so many positions so early in the summer. So thank you.
And number 50, I'll add the add-in. This is not on the agenda, so I'll go ahead and read the whole thing. Approval of hours for planning and writing. I move that the board accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the following staff members for planning and writing for the 2023 to 24 advisory program at the Highland Park High School based on responsive classroom at a rate of $39.80 per hour for up to 20 hours from July 17th through September 4th, 2023. GAP code 20-270-200-100-050-04-11. The staff in question are Colin Copperthwaite, Adam Gold, Nicole Krupski, and Dana Peterson. Thank you. Thank you, Marilyn.
Okay.
Oh, and I think Christina had wanted to introduce some of our staff members that are coming on board.
Yes, thank you, Anne. So it's with great pleasure tonight. I think I have 2 of them on. I'm not sure if I see Kevin in on the Zoom, but I'd like to first reintroduce Brooke Valdezon. You all know her as our current supervisor of funded programs and district initiatives. I'm pleased to recommend Brooke for the position of assistant principal at Bartle. So Brooke, I'll just give you a few minutes to formally reintroduce yourself to the world.
I think a lot of you already know me. I know I taught some of your kids. I just wanted to share that I'm very excited to be starting this new position as assistant principal over at Bartle, having served as a teacher there for 6 years, and then in my current position as supervisor of funded programs for the last 3. I'm really eager to bring this experience and my passion for learning back to Bartle. I saying I'm a dolphin for life now. So I'm just really looking forward to working with and supporting the students and the staff and their families, and of course the teachers and the entire Bartle community.
Thank you, Ms. Baldazone. And next, I'd like to sort of reintroduce Aislinn Stadolski, who she'll probably go through her brief little resume, but Aislinn was a teacher for many years with us at Bartle, left for a brief stint, and now she's joining us back again. So Aislinn, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to see a lot of familiar faces. A little background, I am entering my 10th year in education. 8 of those years were in Highland Park. And during that time, Highland Park supported me during the process of getting my Orton Gillingham certification, my supervisor certification. I was really fortunate to work under Dr. Nicosia, Miss Baldazone, Miss Knapp, doing a lot of Title I before and after school programs, supervising, coordinating. So they've been excellent mentors. And I'll be exiting my role right now as a reading development teacher to take on this new supervisor role. But I'm very happy to be welcomed back into Highland Park. The staff, the students, the families, they're unlike any other. And I'm really looking forward to working together and just being back in the community.
Thank you, Ms. Stadolski. I don't see Mr. DePayne on, but Kevin DePayne is coming to us from New Brunswick. He's currently a Dean of Students in New Brunswick, and he does a lot of work with PBSIS and the Bog School. So he comes to us with a very proactive, instead of reactive way to think about logical consequences, but positive behavioral supports and restorative practice work. So we're really excited to welcome him as the assistant principal for the middle school. And maybe I'll invite him to our next meeting to see if he can join us to more formal introduction. It may have slipped through the cracks between myself. Hello?
You're back. You were
okay.
Yeah, you
Sorry.
froze a little bit.
Sorry. Okay.
All right. Any other questions for personnel?
quick question just on the, oh, sorry, Jen. Quick question 20, just the approval of behaviorists, that's district-wide behaviorists, I'm assuming, correct?
So that one's going to be, I believe, for the middle high school to support our ABA and links programs. So we'll have 2 behaviorists for the district, 1 for Irving and Bartle, and now 1 for middle high school instead of just having 1 for the district.
Got it. Okay, great. That's good to hear. Thank you.
Yep.
I just had a quick question about the technology teacher. I know a lot of parents were asking about the AP computer science. I was just wondering if that's a prerequisite, if everybody that we're considering has that certification to teach, or are we looking at people that might not have that certification yet?
We're looking at people that might not have that certification yet that would be interested in getting the certification. 0 people have applied for the job.
Okay. Thank you.
I was wondering, I think it must be hard at this point finding a teacher, technology teacher, right? I mean, do you find that, I don't know if you're talking to some of your colleagues, that this is a difficult position to fill? Yeah.
Very difficult, very difficult.
Hope for the best.
Which is why it sounded exciting when we talked about it at personnel to explore some kind of a collaboration with Middlesex, where our students could somehow get these courses, be they like virtual online with our supervision or some other way, so we could keep going and the more challenging classes, even that we may or may not be able to get a certified instructor. So it's, you know, I think it makes sense to look outside of the box how to do this.
Absolutely.
Marilyn, is that possible for September? That kind of alternative approach? No.
No. I think Christina's first meeting with Middlesex, everything takes a very long time. Education moves slowly, but it could happen eventually. Maybe in spring if we're lucky.
Okay. We'll move on to policy.
Very easy. We have not met because all we have is the same 3 policies that we did first reading last month. Board member orientation, instructional supplies. We're on second read. Nothing else is yet ready for our review. So it's an easy one.
Okay. All right. We're going to move on to public comment. The Highland Park Board of Education welcomes public participation and has reserved this time for your comments. Board policies number 0164 and 0167 establish and regulate the right of the public to participate in public meetings. So if there's anybody who would like to speak for public comment, raise your virtual hand.
I don't see any.
Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to our action items. Starting with curriculum instruction, I'd like to move items 1 through 6.
I'll second that.
Second. Okay, Ms. Casal done?
Yes.
Ms. Coleman,
Yes.
Ms. Gowan,
Yes.
Mr. Krieger,
Yes.
Ms. McFadden Nicola,
Yes.
Ms. Bruce,
Yes.
Ms. Voorhees,
Yes.
Mr. Woodward.
Yes.
Okay, finance,
Yes, I'd like to move items 1 through 27.
Second.
Ms. Casal done?
yes.
Ms. Coleman,
Yes.
Ms. Gowan,
Yes.
Mr. Krieger,
Yes.
Ms. McFadden Nicola,
Yes.
Ms. Bruce,
Yes.
Ms. Voorhees,
Yes.
Mr. Woodward.
Yes.
Okay, personnel and communications,
I'd like to move items 1 through 50, please.
I'll second.
Ms. Casal done?
yes.
Ms. Coleman,
Yes on everything, abstain on 22. Everything else but
Miss-
22.
Ms. Gowan,
Yes.
Mr. Krieger,
Yes.
Ms. McFadden Nicola,
Yes.
Ms. Bruce,
Yes.
Ms. Voorhees,
Yes.
Mr. Woodward.
Yes.
Okay, and policy,
I move policy 1A, B, and C.
Second.
Ms. Casal done?
yes.
Ms. Coleman,
Yes.
Ms. Gowan,
Yes.
Mr. Krieger,
Yes.
Ms. McFadden Nicola,
Yes.
Ms. Bruce,
Yes.
Ms. Voorhees,
Yes.
Mr. Woodward.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, we're going to move on to board liaison reports. Does anyone have a liaison report this evening? Yes, Ms. Voorhees.
So I attended the Board of Health meeting on last Thursday, which my calendar is not showing me the date, on the 13th. And there were a few things that came up, much we've mentioned before, but they just wanted to reiterate a few things. They're still looking for student liaisons. He was hoping to hear from Ms. Asamoah or Mr. Lassiter about it. The current liaison had a couple prospects, but nobody has signed up to do it. So preferably by September. They were really hoping to have somebody by the first meeting, which is early to mid-September. So if we could reach out to Ms. Asamoah or Mr. Lassiter, again, just to ask them for some recommendations. He said a senior preferably, and then either a sophomore or junior, but just 2. In addition to that, this is the Board of Health head was asking about the youth mental health first aid training. It's free training. He really, really loves this program and was hoping that we could get, as many people as possible involved with that. So I have a flyer and some upcoming training dates that I can share with you. I guess Marilyn, and you can share with Christina, just to see if that's possible. He said he'd be happy to meet with you as well to discuss it more, just to show how important he feels it is. And then I already sent Marilyn the questions about the Rutgers Extension Program that they're looking to work with us as well. They have some ideas for nutrition curriculum, and then also a food waste program. They only work with a few schools and they're interested in working with our district. So again, if we could potentially take advantage of that, that would be very helpful. And that's all I have.
Yeah, I think on the last one, Dr. Nicosia said she was going to put it on to Lisa Saka, the people who are environmental educators, and see who wants to pick it up to work with it, work with them.
That would be great. Thank you.
Any other liaison reports? Okay, there is a statement for our president's report tonight. I have to find it. There it is. So we would like to remind the public that for the November 7th, 2023 elections, we will have 3 board positions available. The school board election candidate kit is available on the NJSBA website, which is njsba.org. The deadline for candidates to submit their nomination petition is 4 p.m. on July 31st, 2023. Okay. I'm sorry, I lost my Zoom window. Is there any old business?
I wanted to, I'm sorry, does anybody have their hand up? I'm not seeing hands. I wanted to ask Dr. Nicosia for an update on the modular classroom and where we are with setting those up and so forth, and timeline, which we're pretty tight to begin with, how we're doing.
Thank you, Marilyn. Yeah, so we had a little bit of well, I don't think it's going to be a delay, but apparently the box modulars, the rep that was working with us, they changed over hands. And so the new person neglected to tell us that we needed to have the permits pulled before the modulars would actually even be delivered to the site. So we had a big powwow because we have to have them done, because they sent us an email saying they wouldn't be here till the fall, and that was unacceptable. So Mr. Flanagan and I had a big powwow with the utility companies and everything, the box modulars, to make sure that we had the plans very detailed to know what we needed to do for permits to pull. We received the architect rendering, the drawings of the layout of the land, the proposal, actually in the inbox by 3 o'clock today. Mr. Flanagan is personally walking it over to the borough tomorrow morning. And hopefully he'll be able to pull those permits right away for us. Once we have confirmation that they're pulled, they said it's about a week and a half, a week to a week and a half turnaround to get them here on site. So if we can pull them tomorrow, we can execute and they'll be here by the end of the month, no later. So that's good. And that way we at least have them on site. Utility companies can start with the hookup, and then we can move the staff can start moving in mid-August, which we're still on track for time. I mean, we just had a little bit of a powwow to make sure we were all on the same page, and tried to pull some strings at the borough to make sure that they approve, get us our permits ASAP.
Thank you so much. Is there any other?
You're welcome.
Any other old business?
Oh.
Okay, any new business?
Oh, Jen has new business.
Yeah, I just had just a quick question about the AP scores that you were looking into.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that we were doing statistics on scores of 3 and above, but I was just wondering if we have 4s and 5s, because I know the 3s don't really get college credit. So it's while they're passing the course, it's not kind of traditional, AP college credit. So just wondering if there is data on that.
Yeah, so a lot of schools do accept 3s for college credit. But I can circle back to Mr. Lassiter and ask him for the 4s and 5s. I don't get the raw data in my inbox. There's like a login credential to the AP that Ms. Hayes and Mr. Lassiter have access to. So I'll circle back with Mr. Lassiter and see if he can pull that data.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other new business?
Michelle has something.
Can't hear you.
You're muted, Michelle.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that my daughter graduated from the Middle Six Tech in Piscataway alongside another Highland Park student, happened to be the valedictorian of the class. So I just wanted to mention her name so that we all could, celebrate with her and her family. And so her last name is Shaheen, and her first name is Bayan. So we were so proud.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So congrats to Bayan. Really proud of you, and so proud that you're a Highland Park student. And another piece of news is that our former superintendent, Dr. Scott Taylor, is moving on to a new career. I'm not sure what the career is actually, but he did leave us for union schools, and it was just kind of announced today in the news. So I thought I should mention that so everyone's clear, and wish you well.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay,
I'm going to ask one more question for Christina. I know there aren't so many parents on, but I know parents are interested in the before and after care and the process coming up. Now that we've hired a director, what do you envision as the timeline for when new rates will come out and new staffing and all the million things that have to happen before September? What are we looking at? Since we're fortunately able to find somebody to do this.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for voting in support of my recommendation to appoint Colin McIntosh for our first in a while, director of our child care program. So he officially starts tomorrow, and he's ready to go because he's done this before in Wall and built their entire program from scratch. He's ready to hit the ground running. So we anticipate within 2 weeks, he'll have everything ready to go. He'll send for the August board approval, all the staff to be reapproved for the program. As well as the rates for the staff, and then I anticipate within probably a week and a half, no later than 2 weeks, the program will go out to families with the rates. That will go through board, probably Maryland, to just individual board members, because I want to get that out before our next board meeting. They don't have to be approved, but I want everyone to see the rates because we're not going to change the rates for free and reduced lunch families, but the full-time rates will have to change slightly and increase. So that'll run through the board on the backside, just so that everyone is well aware of those rates before we make them public, so that we're all in agreement on them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll move to our second public comment. The Highland Park Board of Education welcomes public participation and has reserved this your comments. Board policies number 1065 and number 1067, 0164 and 0167 established and regulate the right of the public to participate in public meetings. If anybody has a comment, please raise your virtual hand.
I don't see any.
None. Yep, seeing none, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Hearing
Thank
far.
you. Safe travels, Marilyn.
Travels,
Okay,
everyone.
thank you.
Safe travels.
Everybody.
Have a great time, Marilyn.
Thanks.